Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Rivet and Clank. Oh boy, Pierre's mad because we kicked all of his forces' butts.
Oh boy. Now that I think about
Also,
it,
they sing in rhyme because that's just what they do.
I never did see the Future series to the end, but last time I saw this, I distinctly remember this guy being the lackey. So, well, that
So yeah, they're blowing up their own ship because we're on it.
of course they are.
Oh no.
It's a smart thing to do.
Yeah, that is the smart thing
Ow.
to do at that point.
At this point, they've had plenty of trouble with a lone Lombax that has a robot for a backpack. So, you know, I would just blow up the ship myself too at that point.
Glove of Doom.
Is that the bomb glove?
Functionally, you throw it a bomb. We'll see right here, obviously, but a bunch of little robots come out and they attack,
Oh, that's a cool twist on a classic. Yeah.
Oh, they're cute.
and they follow you around and stuff. So.
Those, I think, are the little robots that Clank used to use for his puzzles in the first game. Or at least variations on them. Or maybe they're enemies. I don't know. I just remember. I just think they look familiar.
And then there's the Buzz Blades, which I don't like in this game. They're too low damage to be useful.
Yeah.
Tool of Destruction, like the name of one of the previous games. Man, this is really a rift apart. They're really going commando with all of these references.
What?
Up your arsenal.
Okay.
Okay. Listen, it's the dumbest shit. But on the other day I saw Padme, it's Palpatine. He's the Phantom Menace we've been hunting this whole time. He's the one who caused the attack of the clones on the Jedi to get the revenge of the Sith. Oh no, that means he's been behind these Star Wars the whole time. And I'm like, it's the stupidest nonsense, but I don't. Jeez.
Anyway, what was it? Oh, right, the bomb glove. I was gonna bring that up because the bomb glove is actually the first weapon that you start the original Ratchet and Clank with. You don't get like,
really?
you don't get an actual gun until later. You start with the bomb glove. So, I mean, like, it makes sense in the curve of that game's design because you're fighting enemies that mostly come at you at melee. So just having the wrench to bop them with and a bomb glove to do splash damage with is a thing. But it controls a lot differently in that game than it does here because again, you don't have strafe and shoot here. So you're not actually aiming at spots on the ground to throw your bombs. You're actually like locking onto the enemy and chucking bombs at their face. And there's like a little circle indicator underneath the enemy that tells you which one you're locked onto. I like the classic bomb glove, but it's like one of those weapons that has trouble remaining relevant now that the game's control like this.
In what way? Like, there's just more practical answers to stuff?
Well, it's more like the bomb glove as it originally existed in the first game. Existed in the context of a game in which you had to turn your character in a specific direction to shoot, rather than, aiming the camera at what you wanted to shoot and then aiming the gun at the camera. So it was more about, like, where you were positioned in relation to the enemies that determined what weapon was best for what situation. It's a lot different than the way you would prioritize what weapons you use in, I want to say modern Ratchet games, but really this started with Ratchet 2, so every game past 1. Whoa.
Barely made that.
They sure do like reusing this weird snail jet ski thing on every planet, don't they?
Nah, it's not on every planet. And this is like a Rift little challenge.
Oh, I
so.
see. So, like, a lore-friendly reason to reuse the planet-specific thing.
Yeah.
I guess that I guess I can't be too salty about that.
Yeah, this is just an optional challenge you can do if you want. It's not part of the planet.
Yeah, that's fine. It's still more interesting than those tiny ass like planetoids that you could land on in A Crack in Time, where like there were just like nonsensical platforming challenges for your skates. Like like literally it looked like something out of frickin' Super Mario Galaxy. Which isn't too bad for a platformer of this type, but still stuck out a little aesthetically from the rest of the game. Oh,
I'm, thinking about it, Super Mario Galaxy's art design really kind of, it's interesting. It works, but it works kind of because the game has a, like, constantly in an asteroid belt vibe going on about it most of the time.
yeah.
Like, in a game where, if the game were mostly like this, like Super Mario 64 style levels, and then occasionally had Galaxy 1 looking stages, it would not really fit as well, I think.
Yeah.
Because it would look more like a disarray, like, pile of platforms floating in midair. Honestly, that's probably why I like the aesthetic of Mario Galaxy more than the 3D Land and 3D World games. I mean,
Well, 3D
granted,
Land and
one is
World
because they're
I was gonna say, the
it's
3D
space.
Well, 3D Land and World is functionally just the most basic, boring Mario fare, just rendered in 3D.
That's true, but like beyond that, the being in space and having the weird like mini planets and stuff allows you to have just floating platforms in midair without it needing, and it works in context and feels like part of the world, versus something similar in Mario 3D World doesn't exist in part of that world. It is just floating platforms there to be part of a video game, if that makes sense.
It is true. Like Mario Galaxy feels like Mario Galaxy, whereas 3D World just feels like generic video game nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. And I've noticed, especially now that we have games that are more powerful, there has been a bigger effort to have video games like feel like they're cohesive and not necessarily just like in these 3D platformers, especially, I should say, that like it's a little bit more, there's a lot of effort put to make it so that it doesn't just look like Bubsy 3D where there's platforms and nonsense.
Yeah.
I remember reading articles about Rayman 2 in Nintendo Power where there's no floating platforms. Instead, it's like you're jumping on leaves on a tree and stuff like that. And I remember thinking, whoa, that's really cool. That's also part of what I think a lot of people liked about the Banjo games as well, was that the levels were designed in such a way that they feel less like video game levels and more like real places.
Well, I think it would be a mistake to describe it exactly that way. Less like video game levels and more like real places. I mean, obviously not in Mario Galaxy's case.
Not in Mario. Yeah, Mario Galaxy's the exception to this.
I think, well, even in Banjo's case, like, they're obviously video gamey levels, but they feel specifically like cohesive parts of that specific game world rather than just any old game, you know?
This is part of why I will argue for Banjo-Tooie over Banjo-Kazooie, because in Banjo-Kazooie, they do feel a little bit more slapdash to me, versus if you look at, say, in Banjo-Tooie, when you're in the mine level, there's like the big open part, but then there's like a place where they store all of the detonation things. There's a water area where they get the water, and you can go swim through one of the water tubes and it leads to the water level. So like the water is pumped to the mine from the water level.
Yeah.
And in that water level, it's also pumped to the factory level. And so like, obviously it's a video game, and so there's silly things about it, but it does feel like a real place.
To jump into another genre to kind of illustrate the same point, like a lot of the earlier 3D shooters, like Wolfenstein and Doom, had a very like nonsense layout feeling to their areas, and it wasn't really until, I want to say, Star Wars Dark Forces that it became more common to give level design a sense of architectural cohesion, like places.
When was that?
Places.
When did that game come out?
A long time ago. I know it was on PlayStation 1. I know it was on PC. I know I have it on Steam. It's like one of those...
So that's like closer to the mid to late 90s versus Doom was like 92, 93. So there was more effort. Yeah, because if you look at an old Doom map, it's like, what the hell is this?
what the hell is this? Yeah, exactly. Whereas like in Dark Forces, they made a point to make the Death Star feel like the Death Star, you know, rather than just a maze.
Honestly, when you look at the Death Star from the outside, it's like, how does anybody get to anywhere on there? Because the thing's as big as a moon, so, like, it houses, like, what, a couple million people in order to run the damn thing? So it's just like, how do they get people around on it is always just something that I've wondered. Like, what's the point of having the outside, like, have all of those different, like, towers and, like, building-shaped things on the outside? You know, do they do anything? Are they just there to look cool? Probably that second one.
From the appearance of it, they're probably sensor arrays, but, you know, I'm a nerd.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't say it, so...
that's just...
It's time to fix the fixer.
But, like, yeah...
Fixer? I hardly knew her.
So yeah, he's supposed to fix our stuff.
Oh.
He's depressed.
Wow, I did not... Listen, we've got important crap. I don't have the time to deal with this, all right?
I think that's what he just said to the pirates.
Oh, he's Ultron. Okay. All right.
So yeah, here's the developer showing off again.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like, look at, like, yeah, they're showing off. It's just like, look at how cool.
This is a God of War sequence, but with Lombax grinding. Okay.
Why is all of the rail grinding in this game way cooler than anything Sonic has done with rail grinding since like 2002?
I don't know. At some point in Sonic the Hedgehog rail grinding, they stopped trying to make the grinding itself look cool and focused in on this like 3-path straight line nonsense that like doesn't really do a whole lot.
Yeah, like where you're swapping from rail to rail to dodge stuff. But the thing is, then they just kind of made that like you can just do that while you're running, because like one of the things in Sonic Colors is like you press L and R, and then you go to one of 3 paths.
I guess what I'm saying is that they sort of landed on a generic template for the rail grinding sequences and what they look and feel like that hasn't really changed at all since Sonic Heroes and Shadow the Hedgehog. And it's weird because the rail grinding sequences in Ratchet and Clank, and by proxy Crash Bandicoot 4, which ripped Ratchet and Clank off, are just so much more dynamic looking in motion.
Yeah, they try, like, this is like big ass set piece town.
Yeah.
And they don't really try to, I guess they try to do the grinding sections to like show off the environments in Sonic games.
Yeah,
from time to time, but
usually only like a transition between 3D to 2D or back.
Yeah.
Oh, that's...
I'm surprised he managed to catch us with his fingers being like that.
I have a robot arm, which gives me super strength. Never mind that my shoulder blade should have shattered by now.
It's okay, her shoulder blade is also robotic.
So our job is to cheer him up.
Wait.
Oh, he's improvising.
That was a callback. It was a callback to a really lame callback. Okay, so in the Ratchet and Clank movie, there's this line where like they ask, "What are you doing?" and the other one says, "Improvising." And then at the end of the movie, the other one asks, "What are you doing?" and the other one turns around and says, "Improvising." And it's like not funny at all. But it's like that I think they just accidentally owned themselves by doing the same scene better.
Well, on the way in, she was like, "You got to improvise here," and then Crank's like, "I'm improvising," and it's like, improvising's not a thing robots normally do, but okay.
So we made him feel better, and he uses his magic fix beam to fix the thing. So
Man, I wish it was that easy in real life.
I know, right?
Oh, that's how that works.
They modeled each of her teeth individually. Oh God, that must have been a nightmare.
Yeah, yeah, kind of.
I also don't like it that they. Oh, okay, I liked that. This is, I think, one of the best things about the transition to higher fidelity is you can do really subtle, like, movements like that show a lot of character.
Yeah.
And that, like, and it doesn't look puppet like.
That's kind of like one of the things that I really appreciated about the characters in Final Fantasy VII Remake is that they had the same kind of thing going on with the way they presented their personalities. They used a lot of subtle facial movements and stuff. And it made characters like Barrett feel a lot less like, Mr. T XPs shouting their mouths out and more like,
Actual people.
actual people with nuanced personalities and feelings about things. Yeah.
Yeah, like, because, like, that little, like, bump to Clank being like, "Hey, good job, buddy." Like, that's so much. There's so much character in that, And if you looked at your phone for a moment just to, like, check Twitter or whatever while that was going on, while the cutscene was going, you would completely miss that, And it's just, I don't know. I think that's neat.